All right. Experiments and speaking the truth in love. Experiment number 3. Well, been wanting to share this, and now I'm kind of not wanting to share it, but I will anyway. I wanted to talk. I just wanted to talk about. I'm not going to keep repeating about the animals in the room, but I was trying to think of a positive animal actually, and I couldn't land on one. They're butterflies and doves and cats and dogs and all kinds of things, but I'm not going to take that metaphor too far. But I want to share something really for all my fellow humans, but also I want to share something to my fellow believers. As I've said before, I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. I believe in his teachings. But I want to encourage, if you're watching this, thank you. I appreciate it. And this experiment is I'm not putting this out just because I think I'm some kind of expert or have some sort of special perception that other people don't have. I just want to, it's like when you're sitting in class and, they're like, any questions or at a meeting, and maybe you do, but you don't want to be that person who asks that question because maybe you think it's going to be a stupid question. And you find out when somebody actually asks it, it's like everybody wanted to ask that question. So really, I'm just putting this stuff out in that spirit. And I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to find. I'm not putting out these thoughts into the universe because I want to focus on the negative. I actually want to learn how to navigate the world and help, be part of the solution. I want to be part of. There are problems, but there are a lot of good things, and so I want to be one of those people who try to help make things better. So in the short term or long. All right. So first, if you are a Christian, please don't tune out on what I want to share to my fellow humans in general. And my fellow human, please don't tune out on what I want to share with my fellow Christians, because maybe you're not, if you're not a Christian, or maybe you're not interested, or you have a negative opinion, I think it may be helpful. So to my fellow humans, we just, I don't think I have to point out to anybody, we live in a very divided world, not just society. I don't want to make it about being an American or anything like that, although I am American. The whole world's divided. It's race, it's whatever, culture. I don't have to go through other things: gender, sex, educated, not educated, socioeconomic, all that stuff. I think we're all very familiar with it. It's all very cliche. We're tired of it, but it's important, and we need to address it. So, but I just want to put out one example. So this is just one example. Some people hearing this may not want to hear about this. I'm not a political person, but I think it's a good example. So in America, we have, it's like a two-party system. That is dominated by a two-party system, Republican, Democrat, right? So, let's say, look at the typical scenario. You got a nominee for the Democratic Party and a nominee for the Republican Party. One of them is going to win. Well, what is in terms of a system that is designed for the best possible outcome for the whole country, let's see how this system works. Let's say the Republican nominee wins. whoever it is, whatever year it is. Well, how much of the company's happy? Company. How much of the company of America, the country of America, the United States of America, how much of the country is happy? Half. Wow, that's not a great outcome. So half the country is happy with who their president is. The other countries, half of the country is unhappy. Let's say the Democratic nominee wins. Well, same outcome. I don't have to repeat myself. Best possible outcome. Unless there's some landslide. I mean, when has that happened? When you got different party nominees, and there's some kind of landslide and the whole country just loves one party over there. That just doesn't happen. Best possible outcome then. That's not so great, is it? So division, some people may disagree. Some people may say, "Oh my gosh, the party systems, that's a platform. There's important things that are being represented. Then there needs to be some organized." Sorry, all the mosquitoes. I'm saying sorry to you. I'm sorry for waving them away in the video screen, but yeah. Regardless, whatever justification we want to put to the party system, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the outcome. It's not a win. It's not a win for the country. And so, honestly, I would say in theory, and I would imagine in practice, if you're voting, and I'm not making this about the vote. People can vote whoever they want. That's between them and their conscience and their, and God, right? Or just whoever else cares, right? We're all free. We can vote however we want, for whoever we want. But the way, considering that outcome, it seems like voting based on party is just perpetuating division and perpetuating the same outcome of half of the country being happy and half being unhappy. Well, that's that. That's all I wanted to say to my fellow humans. That's an example. Okay, that's not my ultimate point. I'm just using it as an example of how divided we can be on all these different issues. How can we overcome that? Whether it's political divide, racial, whatever. Where we get so dug in our own camp on whatever issue, difference that we have. I believe there's a better way. So to my fellow Christians, also on division, okay, this is honestly, I feel like I might get myself in a little trouble. I may have already with the whole political talk, but as I said, I'm not a very political person, but that's just my observation. And so I want to speak to just my fellow Christians. So there's a famous passage, I'll say famous in my kind of circle. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 1. And I'm just going to go ahead and read it and share something. So, and this was when I first I became a Christian at 22, and somebody sat down, my friend Eric, and he taught me the scriptures. And this is one of the things he taught me, which is commonly taught to pretty much. It's a commonly held, I guess, conviction or belief in our ministries. But Paul says he's writing to this church, which is in the city of Corinth. It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 1. He says, "I urge you, brothers and sisters, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, to agree together." Now, some of you may know where I'm going, or you may think you know where I'm going. So please don't bail on me yet, because this actually kind of blew up my world today as I was thinking about this. All right. "I urge you, brothers and sisters, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, to agree together, to end your divisions, and to be united by the same mind and purpose. For members of Chloe's household have made it clear to me, my brothers and sisters, that there are quarrels among you." Now, I mean this, that each of you is saying, "I'm with Paul," or "I'm with Apollos," or "I'm with Cephas," or "I'm with Christ." And for those who aren't familiar with this passage, or the Christian world. These are early Christian leaders. These were people either authorized by Jesus to to tell people about his teachings in his life, or they were fellow co-workers with those people. So some people were saying, I'm with Paul, or I'm with Apollos, or I'm with Cephas, or I'm with Christ. Cephas is another name for Peter, the Apostle Peter. Is Christ divided? Now, when this was presented to me, here was the takeaway. Division is wrong. Denominationalism is wrong. And, or to be really technical, if you want to use religious language, it's a sin. And it needs to be repented of, and it shouldn't be part of our life, our belief for our life. So I was taught that we should not be divisive and not be denominational, and I still agree with that. In spirit, I agree with that. Now, but what I've realized recently is that the takeaway that I was taught from this passage is that these people were all wrong. These people were not Christians. These people were not faithful. And by extension, people like that, who are not denominational, who are denominational. So, but as I've been rereading this and reflecting, praying about it, I've realized that's not what Paul's saying. I was led to have like an exclusive, like this is an exclusive statement. The takeaway should be exclusive. Now, you may know where I'm going. This is actually inclusive. Now, don't misunderstand. I don't mean inclusive in the popular vernacular. Okay, inclusivity. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the technical sense. Paul is saying to the Paul followers, no, it's not just you. To the Apollos followers, to people who are like, I don't follow this guy. In other words, these people were saying, I'm a Christian and nobody else is. Or that was they were implying. And I don't want to have anything, or these other people, I don't want to have anything to do with them. They're not part of my tribe. Okay, the Paul people are like these Apollos people, and see, they're not part of my tribe. They're not one, they're them. They're not one of us. Not one of me, not like me. And so the takeaway is not, I should not, I should be part of this undivided, I should consider myself part of this undivided group and this non-denominational group, and therefore that means I'm a Christian and nobody else is. That's not what Paul is saying. What he's actually saying is, you Paulines, you Apollos people, you Cephas people, you people who say you only follow Christ but not those guys, those guys were saying we're the only ones and nobody else is. That's the problem. They're excluding everybody else. Now, so what Paul is saying, no, you're all part of the same faith. You're all part of the same, you maybe I taught you, I baptized you, Paul later says, or maybe Apollos did, or Cephas, or, or someone just said, hey, it's not about anybody, it's just about Jesus. And you're like, well, who cares what Paul or Apollos or anybody else says? So if you're not a Christian, I lost you, you probably have this criticism. Well, look at the Christian church. It's so divided. There's like hundreds of denominations. There's something wrong with that. Yeah, there is something wrong with that. So this is this is what it's speaking to. And so, as a Christian, what I want to do, my aim is, I want to build bridges, and I'm not going to be like, hey, just pretend we're all one happy family or something like that. That's not real. I'm talking about getting a cup of coffee with somebody, building a friendship, building a relationship, in some other quote tribe or group or whatever who maybe doesn't go by the name I have, you know, that my church goes by. Now, some people I know may be really having a hard time with what I'm saying, so what I'd like to do is turn to chapter 3 of 1 Corinthians, go a couple chapters later, and read the end, the last paragraph. You can read the whole chapter, but read the last paragraph. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to trust you to be a Berean, which I will probably talk about in the future. But it's very possible people I know what a Berean is. That's it. The world's very divided. What I'm on a mission to do, is part of my mission, is to learn how to bridge those divides. Now, some divides cannot be bridged, and they just can't. They're in opposition. And I'll end with this. One of my personal challenges is, what's important to me is peace. And it used to be like peace at all costs, but I realized I've learned that fails. That doesn't help, and that's not real. That's not real peace. That's like putting on a Band-Aid on a gunshot, So one of the things Jesus said was that he came not, even though Jesus was a peaceful man, he said turn the other cheek. He said put away your sword. He was not he promoted a different kind of warfare, not what we see in the world. It was a spiritual kind of way of fighting, spiritual fight. He said that's where the battle is. He also said, I didn't come to bring peace but a sword. And he didn't mean a literal sword. He was saying, and that's very challenging to me, he was saying some people, because of me and my teaching, some households, some families, some relationships are going to be divided. That breaks my heart. That hurts, but that's real. And people divide over lesser things than, who they live for. So it's not a surprise. As sad as it makes me, and as much as I struggle with that. So, if somebody's unhappy with what I say along the way, if it's because of something I said wrong or did wrong, I apologize. Help me see it. But if it's the truth, I've got to be unapologetic about that. So that's it. How can we overcome just all the divisiveness? That we are swimming in, that we're breathing, whether it's just in the world or whether it's in the church. Thanks.